says, "Washamsi wa duhaha." I swear by the sun and it's the glory with which, the brilliance with which it lights up the morning. So it's morning brilliance. So the sun and its soothing morning brilliance. And duha is important because the sun at a certain time, and we know this really well out in Texas, and the ancient Arabs knew this way better than we did. The sun after a certain time is scorching, and it's not soothing, and it's not soft light, it's hard light. It makes you want to, squint your eyes. It'll give you headaches and things like that. It's torturous almost. But there's a time of the morning where the light of the sun is actually pretty soothing, and it has a calming effect on your surroundings. Those of you that wake up early and then you go outside in that morning, the sky is not never as soothing and as calming, and the environment isn't as serene as it is at that time. And Allah says, "I swear by the sun," meaning the brilliant source of light, and that soothing environment it creates, that soothing soft light that it creates in the morning. Wal qamari idha talaha, and I swear by the moon as it follows it, when it follows the sun. So he swears by the sun and then he swears by the moon. And he described two different things. One, he said about the sun that it's soothing and it's got this beautiful light and it's a source of calm. And he talks about the moon and he says, well, what I want you to think about when it comes to the moon is that the moon follows the sun. And obviously it does so at nighttime, right? So we see, and the celestial bodies are doing their work, whether we can see them or not. But for the human eye, you could see that it follows, meaning the evening follows the day. But now we even know from an astronomical point of view, the moon is literally an object that's following the larger solar system. It's rotating around the earth and the earth around the sun. So there's this following that's taking place. Wal qamari idha talaha. It's also following it in a sense that the moon doesn't have its own light. The only way we can see the moon is that the sun shines on it, and that's why it's illuminated. So it's not a source of light by itself, it's reflecting its light, right? And that's going to be important as we read on. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّهَا, and I swear by the day as it brings out the sun's brilliance. Meaning, the sun itself is brilliant, but we wouldn't appreciate the magnificent power of the sun if we didn't see things look glorified, look illuminated because of the light of the sun. Right? So just like the sun is illuminating the world, the illuminated world is also a kind of a complement to the sun, right? So because the same place can look a completely different world without the light of the sun. A place could be incredibly beautiful. And recently, my family and I took a trip to Colorado, just a road trip. And in the daytime, the valleys and the trees and the mountains are so beautiful. And as Maghrib starts coming in, the same place becomes terrifying. The same roads that were breathtaking view, the beauty of them is gone. The soothing, you just want to stop and look. Now you're scared to stop. Same place. And if you were going by the same exact place during the daytime, you'd say, hey, can we stop here and take this view in for a moment, right? But at nighttime, can we just keep driving? Can we just keep moving? Because it's terrifying. And the only difference is that place is beautified by the sun, and that makes you appreciate the sun even more. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا جَلَّهَا وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا, and I swear by the night as it covers it up, meaning it covers up the glory of the sun. So now we've got 4 ayat about the sun and the moon and the day and the night, and now he says وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا, and I swear by the sky and what an incredible creation he made, and how remarkably it was made, and the earth and how remarkably it was laid out. وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا. So far, we're not talking about ourselves. I started this khutbah saying that we're going to learn something about ourselves, and this is a surah which talks about deep within ourselves. And so far, we're learning about the sun, and the moon, and the night, and the day, and the sky, and the earth. And in the middle of taking all of these oaths that draw our attention, the next set of oaths is وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا, and I swear by the inner self, the person, the inside person that each one of us has. And I swear by how remarkably it was made balanced. Remarkably how he balanced it out. Balance means there are opposing weights or opposing forces that need to get balanced. Now, if you take a step back, the sun and the moon create a kind of balance in the sky. The day and night are a kind of balance. The sky and the earth function in balance and they work with each other. Without the sky, the earth couldn't exist, right? So they're interdependent, or especially the earth, dependent on the sky. So after describing all of that, look at this balanced universe around you. He says, and by the way, there's a universe inside you that's also balanced. There's this world I created outside that's balanced, and there's a world inside that's balanced. And there are other parallels also, because we are going from celestial bodies and an observation about the outside world and the sky and the horizon and the earth, and all of a sudden we're talking about something going deep inside ourselves. It's as if Allah is describing that there is a world inside of us, and it functions. Some of its mechanics, some of its mechanisms are a lot like what you see outside in what Allah made. So there is a brilliant light inside ourselves too. And that light can give us soothing calm like the morning does. And there are times when we find ourselves not in soothing times, we find ourselves in darkness. But even when we do, that light, which isn't soothing anymore, can still shine on the moon, meaning some remnant of the light is still there no matter how dark a situation you find yourselves in. You're never without light, even if it's like thin as a hair, like the moon. حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم. There's still light, and that light, the source of that light is still the sun, right? So Allah Azza wa Jal put inside the human being a ruh, right? And it's a source of light and guidance for the human being, whether they're Muslim or not. Actually, it's something that He put inside the human being so they can seek truth. And when He gave us that light inside of ourselves, when you nurture that light, it creates a soothing environment inside you and around you. But even if everything's okay inside, things can get pretty messed up on the outside. But even if they do, even if it's like a dark night, often people compare, this is a very dark time in my life, or I'm surrounded by a lot of darkness, right? And darkness is associated with imagery of hopelessness or feeling lost or feeling scared and things like that. And in all of those scenarios, Allah still says, well, the moon is still following the sun. And following is an interesting word, because when someone's in the dark, they don't know which way to go, right? But follow the light. Like the moon is the moon is following the light of the sun. It's still following. So follow the right path, even if you're surrounded in darkness, is kind of a subtle suggestion there. And then the idea that this light inside us makes everything around us beautiful. Following Allah's guidance, following Allah's light actually gives tajliya, gives glory, makes beautiful the life in this world. But then there are times, there are elements of the night that can make you, because the moon can be hidden by clouds, right? It can be hidden by clouds, and the night can cover up the sun, and you might not feel like there's any light, even though it's there, even though that it exists. So human beings are struggling between light and darkness. And that struggle, we're reminded of that because Allah created the night and day constantly struggling. And it's as if Allah is constantly reminding us of the war happening inside ourselves between light and darkness. And then He says that this nafs that He made with these, He put inside us a desire, a love to do the right thing, to do good. We want to be good. We want to do good. We want to help someone else. We want to make someone feel happy. We want to do the right thing. We want to be fair. All of those good drives are inside of us. We feel sorry for someone who's hurting. We want to be able to help their situation. These are all things that Allah put inside us. You didn't have to be taught those things. It's like the light of the sun. It's already there. It's already shining inside. But then there's this other selfish side. There's this side that has very intense negative feelings. It has things like anger and sadness and jealousy. It has things like regret and hopelessness. There's all kinds of negative feelings. And they're the opposite of light. And these two things, Allah did not create us that we can get rid of one or the other. Like, why can't we always have light? Why can't we always just, be in a good place? You can't, because Allah didn't create just day. He created day and He created night. So He says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا وَنَفْسِ وَمَا سَوَى. It's incredibly balanced. Then He says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And before telling us what this oath is about, He says, and speaking of this nafs, this inside self that you and I were given, this person inside that actually only you know, And Allah knows, nobody else knows that person truly. That's the conversations you and I have with ourselves are only known to ourselves. The thoughts that we entertain in our mind truly are only and only ours. And it's actually so guarded sometimes that we're terrified that somebody might know what we really think we're really thinking, what's going on in our head. It's a very private, secure place inside, deep inside of ourselves. What does he say about that place? He says, فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. So he inspired it, meaning this deep nafs inside, he inspired it with its ability to explode, with fujur, وَتَقْوَاهَا, and an ability and a desire to protect itself and to be safeguarded. So, and by the way, explosion is the opposite of being safe. Those are two opposing forces. And what does fujur mean? Fujur actually is, you don't have to know a lot of Arabic to know that, but even if you know anything about the prayers, the morning prayer is called what? It's called fajr, from fujur. Why? Because the light explodes out of the sky. It tears through. So, in fajr or infijar is used, إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انْفَجَرَتْ, when the sky is going to explode open. Judgment Day. A fajr, they commonly translate fajr as a sinner, but fajr actually means someone who's impulsive, whose feelings make them explode into action, whose feelings make them explode and say whatever words came in their mouth. They have no reservation. They don't hold back. Like you see an open, empty highway, and you've got a car that can go fast, and your foot just kind of floors it on the accelerator. But then, long in the distance, you see red and blue lights flashing, right? And you haven't, and all of a sudden taqwa kicks in. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. He inspired the human being to want to be rebellious, to want to do crazy things, to have all kinds of impulses, but also inspired the human being with the ability to control themselves. And this is actually what separates us from animals, isn't it? Because an animal can see a prey, and if it's hungry, that's it. It's attacking. It's going to rip through that prey. But a human being can desire something and then put other brakes in place. A disbeliever can put brakes on, like, oh, well, is that against the law? Is anybody watching? Is there a security camera? And they'll want to do it, but they won't. But for a Muslim, even if there's no security cameras, there's still security cameras, right? There's still angels recording, kiram and katimin. There's still Allah watching, and that puts us to a stop. But that's still taqwa in the end of the day. There's a spiritual taqwa, but there's also other kinds of taqwa that other human beings exhibit. It's not taqwa of Allah, but it could be taqwa of the law, or taqwa of a security camera, or taqwa of other social or emotional consequences. It's still taqwa of that kind, right? But that's what Allah put inside of us. Now, so at the end of all of that, it's like the climax of all the amazing things Allah created: the sky, the earth, the night, the day, the sky, the sun, the moon. All of that is the climax of it all is the ultimate example of balance, the human being. And I don't want you to think about the philosophical entity human being. I want you to think about yourself, and I think about myself. Allah is claiming that you and I were created with an incredible ability to be balanced. He's made that claim. And he's compared our capacity to be balanced with the balance that he created the sky and the earth with. The balance with which the harmony with which he created the sun and the moon. He gave us a light inside us that can be so soothing and calm, like washamsi, washamsi wa duhaha. He put that inside of us. We have an ability to be at peace inside ourselves. Now, when you hear that, you're like, but I'm not at peace. I'm pretty angry. I'm pretty upset. And I have so many, and those emotions are all real. Those are darknesses that exist. But at the same time, Allah balanced that with an ability to find calm and to find yourself and to find your true nafs that is balanced. One of my late teachers, Dr. Sar Ahmed, rahimahullah, he used to say, when he talked about the nafs in his study of Quran, when he wanted to help people and his students understand what nafs means, this inner self, he used to say, think of it as you are inside of you, there is a wild horse with no mane, no reins, no nothing. You're riding this wild horse and you're grabbing it by its hair, and you're trying to control it. Even if you let go of it a little bit, it's going to run wild. It's going to trample over things. It's going to jump into a canyon. It's a very powerful horse. that's inside. And that's actually kind of what a nafs is. It's fujur. It just wants to do whatever it wants to do. It has impulses. And we have to keep it restrained by our taqwa. Now, and if we don't, then who's running the show? If you don't hold this horse back, if you don't hold it back, then it runs wherever it wants to, and you follow. So you're no longer in charge in a crazy way. Your nafs is in charge. Your nafs has taken a part of your nafs, the nafs that la ammaratun bisu, the one that keeps commanding you to do terrible things or say terrible things. It's in charge now, and you surrender yourself to it. And that's a scary place to be, because Allah describes, أَرَأَيْتَ مَنِ اتَّخَذَ إِلَهَهُ هَوَاهُ. Have you seen someone who takes their own inner feelings, what they desire, and turns them into their God? That doesn't mean that they worship. I've talked about that to you guys before. That doesn't mean they worship their desires. That means they surrender to them. They, whatever their feelings tell them to do, they do. If their feelings tell them to say horrible things, they say horrible things. And even after they say horrible things, okay, fujuraha, but then there's taqwaha, right? Okay, I just said something horrible. I take that back, or I'm so sorry I said that, or I shouldn't have said that. Regret or remorse, or let's take it back. No, this horse is running wilder and wilder. So even after you say something crazy, instead of taking it back, yeah, I said it, well, I get to say that because I felt that way, and my feelings are real, and my feelings justify. Hold on a second. No, not you, not I, not anyone else, not anyone else will be able to stand in front of Allah and say, I said this horrible thing, or I did these terrible things because I felt like it, because my feelings told me to. Obviously, every sin happens because of feelings. Obviously. And this is not for you to go criticize someone else or you to correct someone else. This is a reminder to me, for myself, and to you for yourself. What is it that Allah Azza wa Jal is going to ask us about? Inna sam'a wal basara wal fu'ada kullu ulaika kana anhu mas'ula. The hearing, the seeing, and the heart that loses control, the inflamed heart, they will all be questioned. Yes, you'll have overwhelming emotions, but were you able to have taqwa, or did you let them explode? Did you allow fujur, or did you have taqwa? Because I gave you the power to have both. فَأَلْهَمَهَا فُجُورَهَا وَتَقْوَاهَا. And now I come to the conclusion of these statements. What Allah Azza wa Jal says in the 9th and the 10th ayah of the surah, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. That's going to be the end of what I share with you guys. The person who was able to cleanse themselves, clean themselves. What does that mean? That this nafs, every time it heads towards something bad, it gets dirty. Every time it explodes with impulse, it gets dirty. Every time it follows its feelings, it gets dirty. And you have to clean it up and clean it up and clean it up. You know, it's in nature, Allah Azza wa Jal did not create anything that stays clean on its own. You leave your car outside, it's going to get covered in dirt, even though you cleaned it. Allah made observations for us in nature for us to learn from them. You cannot keep a place clean unless you go back and clean it again and clean it again and clean it, because you have to dust it again. You have to organize it again, etc. Right? So, and if you leave food there and you say, oh, the food is clean and it's fresh or whatever, if you leave it there, it's going to get rotten. Then bugs are going to come. It's going to get dirty. Right? You're going to have to go through the process of cleaning. Allah says just like that, there's no such thing. Alhamdulillah, I accepted Islam and I made tawbah in 1983 and now I've been clean. Because I got cleansed up in 1980. No, don't work like that. You and I have to basically acknowledge that dirt keeps falling on our hearts. That the nafs keeps wanting to do bad. And sometimes it does bad and I don't even realize that it's done bad. And so looking at my own self, like nobody else. Don't wait for somebody else to criticize you and me. Don't wait for somebody else to point out what we're doing wrong. How about I look at myself deeply and become my own greatest critic? You know, we're in a culture now where we are constantly trained to defend yourself, to justify yourself, to stand by what you feel, and not ever think of yourself as having done anything wrong. And we've created two extremes. Either I've done nothing wrong, the problem is with everyone else, or everything is wrong about me. I'm just a loser. I'm just going to hell anyway. Or I'm just a terrible person. I can't do anything right. What? Fujuraha wa taqwaha, man or woman. Yes, you do good things, but that doesn't make you an angel. Yes, you do bad things, but that doesn't make you a devil. When you do good things, ask Allah to accept them and stay on a good track. But that doesn't mean you're immune from doing bad things. And when you do messed up things, that doesn't mean you became the devil. Stop beating yourself up. And that's also a kind of cop out, because then a person says, well, I'm messed up anyway, so what does it matter? Right? That's shaitan's line of thinking. No, Allah doesn't give us that. He says the person who's able to recognize one piece of dirt and clean it. And let me give you the analogy here now. If somebody pointed out that there's a blemish, or you notice in the mirror that there's a stain on your shirt, what are you gonna do? Ah, forget it. These clothes, and you set them on fire? No, you wash. You wash. And you notice a different stain somewhere else. Next week, if you're a clumsy eater like me, every time I eat, my clothes eat with me, right? So I've got stains in interesting places. I don't even wonder where they came from. But you know what? It was a stain over here one week. It was a stain over here one week. It's a stain over here one week, and eventually I say, you know what? This stain, there's so many stains. I'm so tired of cleaning up. You know what? I'm just gonna burn all my clothes because I don't want to deal with this anymore. They're just dirty. What can I do? I can't. No, they get dirty, you clean again. They get dirty, you clean again, and it's the same thing on the inside. It's the same exact thing on the inside. You don't give up on yourself, and you don't act like nothing's wrong. No, no, what's wrong? Just no. That's the new fashion. A little bit of oil. That's not. You're delusional. You know. So either one is unhealthy. So he says the one who's able to cleanse it and continue on cleansing it little by little, then that person has truly attained success. These are successful people, meaning successful people are not people that are clean, but they keep on cleaning, which means successful people also get dirt on them. If they didn't get dirt on them, there was no point of cleansing. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And the person who allows it to stay in the dirt has completely lost. They have met with disappointment. Allah, after all of these oaths, the point of all of them, the point of mentioning the sun and the moon, the point of mentioning the night and the day and the night, the point of mentioning the sky and the earth, the night and the day, then the point of mentioning the nafs and its internal struggles. The point of all of that, I shared all of this with you, Allah tells us, for one reason. Because you need to know that there will be dark times, there will be times where you're covered in darkness, and you'll have to cleanse that darkness off, the next day begins. And then darkness will come back, and you'll have to cleanse it off, and the next day begins. And this is a process you must engage in, and every time you forget this khutbah, this sermon from Allah Himself, this Surah Al-Shams, in case you forget, just look out your window. The sun should remind you. The night should remind you that after every night there's morning. The morning is cleansing the darkness of the sun. I need to cleanse myself. Isn't it incredible that we recite the word of Allah more loudly every time it's dark outside? The Dhuhr prayer, the Asr prayer are silent. Maghrib, Fajr, Isha, these are all when there's more darkness, we're more in need of light. And the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to recite those prayers loudly. Obviously, the congregational Jum'ah is exception because it's a congregation, it's loud. But and it's a reminder. The whole purpose of it is a larger gathering reminder. But it's all these teachings in our religion are there to protect our inner self, to recognize what's going on inside of ourselves. And I pray we don't become like the kind of people who are run by who we don't control our feelings control us. I pray that we don't become like those people, because those people truly have failed. May Allah Azza wa Jal make us strong and give us self-control and restraint and real balance inside of our lives, and help us carry good lives as believers and forgive our shortcomings. Barakallahu li wa lakum fil Qur'an al-Hakim wa nafa'ani wa iyyakum bil ayat wa dhikr al-Hakim.